promoting dialogue.
It's midday in Dakar, 1 p.m. in Port Novo. Good afternoon, and thank you for staying tuned to West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and worldwide on wadr.org. This is Newslink. Let's begin with our top headline stories. Senegal enters the global gas market with the trans-territorial project. Mali's Auditor General releases report implicating former Prime Minister Choguel Maïga in allegations of financial mismanagement. Côte d'Ivoire gears up for October presidential election amid calls for reforms and inclusivity. And Nigeria's opposition leader Peter Obi calls on President Tinubu to carry out leadership reforms and address the cost of governance, security and poverty.
The newly approved minimum wage of 70,000 cannot afford a bag of rice or even half a bag of beans. As a result, many Nigerians go to bed hungry. While Senegal's number now rely on palliatives and charitable support, tragically, this has recently led to several avoidable deaths.
Stay with us for details of these stories and more.
Here is Abdullahi Hassan with Newslink.
Many thanks for joining our broadcast and welcome to our listeners in Gambia, Ghana, Liberia and Sierra Leone. We'll begin in Senegal because the country has achieved a significant milestone in its energy sector by commencing natural gas production through the trans-territorial project. The project is a collaboration between Mauritania's national hydrocarbon company and the global energy giant BP and Cosmos Energy. This initiative marks Senegal's emergence as a key player in the global liquefied natural gas LNG market, positioning West Africa firmly on the world energy map. Nadir Teti reports.
Senegal's trans-territorial project has turned years of planning into reality, marking a historic moment for the country's energy ambitions. Developed in collaboration with BP, Cosmos Energy, and the national companies Petrosen and Mauritania's Société Mauritanienne de Hydrocarbures, the project integrates cutting-edge technology to extract and process natural gas. Key infrastructure includes a floating production, storage, and offloading unit (FPSO) and an FLNG vessel, enabling the first phase to produce up to 2.5 million tons of liquefied natural gas annually. With reserves estimated at 422 billion cubic meters, this project has transformative potential for Senegal's economy. The initiative unfolds in two strategic phases. The first focuses on exporting gas to diversify global supply chains, while the second aims to address local energy needs. This dual approach not only positions Senegal as a major LNG exporter, but also drives industrialization and energy access domestically. Senegal's success has been supported by critical energy sector reforms, including an updated petroleum code, increased investor confidence, and public-private partnerships. These efforts underline the country's commitment to becoming a central player in Africa's energy landscape.
Now, the DTT reporting there. Still in Senegal, the Ministry of Infrastructure, Land and Air Transport has extended the deadline for motorcycle owners to register their vehicles to March 13, 2025. This decision grants a 3-month reprieve effective since December 13, 2024, during which registrations will be free starting the week of January 6, 2025. Christopher Ticho tells us more.
The measure aims to regularize unregistered motorcycles, improve compliance with legal requirements, and strengthen road safety. The ministry emphasized the importance of this initiative for its potential to reduce accidents and enhance public safety. To ensure effective implementation, MITA has collaborated with various ministries and security forces, including the National Gendarmerie and Police, to harmonize strategies for identifying and monitoring motorcycles. After the extended deadline, unregistered motorcycles found on the road will be impounded immediately. This action is part of a broader effort to transition towards a more regulated and secured transport system. The ministry has encouraged motorcycle owners to seize this opportunity to register their vehicles free of charge, contributing to better road safety and a reduction in accident risks. META also reiterated that while the registration requirement is temporarily relaxed, all other road inspection rules remain in force. These measures reflect the government's commitment to fostering a safer and more orderly public transportation environment.
Christopher Ticho filed that report away from Senegal to Mali, where the Office of the Auditor General has released a scathing report detailing significant financial irregularities within the Universal Access Fund Management Agency from 2020 to 2023. The findings implicate former Prime Minister Choguel Maïga in mismanagement and unauthorized expenditures, raising political stakes amid an already charged atmosphere. Echia Tisu completes the story.
The 113-page report from Mali's Office of the Auditor General outlines significant irregularities, including a 20 billion CFA franc loan granted to the public treasury in 2020 and unaccounted funds intended for public services. While Choguel Maïga was not Prime Minister at the time of the loan, other actions under his tenure from 2021 to 2023 are directly linked to him. The Auditor General highlighted numerous questionable expenses, including unjustified staff benefits, such as phone subscriptions worth 13 million CFA francs and missing school equipment valued at 15 million CFA francs. Public broadcaster ORTM is also owed 92 million CFA francs that remains unpaid. In 2023, Maïga allegedly sanctioned 2 trips financed by unplanned sovereignty expenses totaling 47 million CFA francs, expenses deemed non-compliant with financial regulations. While the former Prime Minister's camp denies the allegations, calling them politically motivated, the case has been referred to the Supreme Court's account section. Maïga, dismissed in November 2024, following disagreements with the ruling military, is suspected of nurturing presidential ambitions, a potential motive for targeting him, some say. The timing of the report, released just weeks after Maïga's dismissal, has raised eyebrows, with critics suggesting it could be an attempt to discredit him. Meanwhile, Mali's transitional government has reiterated its commitment to fighting corruption, a promise that resonates strongly with the public.
Echi Atiso reporting.
More stories coming up on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
Remember, we're live on WADR.org, on Facebook at WADR English Service, and on YouTube at WADR. In 2025, Côte d'Ivoire is set to hold a presidential election scheduled for October. The electoral process began with the revision of the voter register, which concluded in November last year. Opposition parties are urging the government to initiate a political dialogue. The president of the PDCI, Tijan Cham, and the FPI, Pascal Affi-N'Guesson, addressed the public during their New Year's messages, emphasizing the importance of peaceful and inclusive elections. For the president of the Ivorian Popular Front, FPI, former Prime Minister Pascal Affi-N'Guesson, transparency and impartiality are crucial for the upcoming October presidential election. He has called for electoral system reforms ahead of the polls. Meanwhile, Guillaume Soro, former parliamentary speaker and prime minister, has announced his imminent return from 6 years of exile. Despite being ineligible to run due to conviction in Côte d'Ivoire, he has expressed his intention to contest in the upcoming election. Chad's Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, Abdurrahman Koulimala, has received a detailed preliminary report from international observers on the December 29, 2024 polls. The delegation, comprising 25 observers from African nations and the diaspora, commended the peaceful conduct of the elections while identifying areas for improvement in Chad's electoral processes. Prominent figures in the delegation included Dr. Zalikatu Diallo, a former vice president of Guinea's National Assembly, and Aissata Daffé, a former ECOWAS parliamentarian. The team monitored pre-election activities, voting day operations, and overall election management, providing critical insights into Chad's democratic progress. Minister Kulimala lauded the observers for their impartiality and transparency, emphasizing the government's commitment to refining the electoral framework. Away from Chad, Ghana's President Nana Akufo-Addo delivered his final State of the Nation address today to Parliament. The address, which aligns with Article 67 of the 1992 Constitution, focused on the state of Ghana's economy, covering key topics such as macroeconomic indicators, GDP growth, inflation, international reserves, job creation, and infrastructure development. President Akufo-Addo provided an update on the country's progress before the handing over of office to the newly elected President, John Dramani Mahama.
In need during this challenging time. Mr. Speaker, it is important to state at the outset that serving the Ghanaian people as President has been the greatest honor of my life. It has been one of great challenges and even greater triumphs, one that has demanded every ounce of my energy, commitment, and love for our beloved country. My vision has always been to see a Ghana that is self-reliant, prosperous, and united, a beacon of hope, democracy, and opportunity in Africa and beyond. That vision remains undimmed, and I'm confident that the strides we have made together will propel Ghana to even greater heights. Mr. Speaker, the first responsibility of a government is the safety and security of the state and its people. I'm happy to report that our country's territorial integrity is intact and all our borders are secure. In a neighborhood of widespread instability, it is no longer an assumption that we can make that our land will be safe and secure. Ghana, by the grace of God, remains the only country in the neighborhood that has not fallen victim to terrorist violence. It has taken a lot of concerted effort, and dare I say a lot of money, to enable us to protect our country from the ravages of the variety of terrorist groups operating and destabilizing other countries in the neighborhood.
President Nana Akufo-Addo delivering his last State of the Nation address as is scheduled to hand over on January 7 to President-elect John Dramani Mahama of the National Democratic Congress, which today will have the majority in the 9th Assembly. In a related development, Malian Transitional President Assimi Goïta welcomed a Ghanaian delegation delivering an invitation to attend the swearing-in ceremony of Ghana's newly elected President, John Mahama. The visit also served as an opportunity to discuss key issues of regional cooperation and security amid ongoing tensions between the Alliance of Sahel State AES and ECOWAS. The delegation, led by Alfred Mahama, a representative of President-elect, emphasized Ghana's intention to deepen bilateral relations with Mali. Discussions in the meeting, attended by Mali's Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Abdoulaye Diop, also focused on addressing shared security challenges in the region, with Ghana expressing its commitment to work collaboratively with Mali and other AES countries to combat insecurity. While the impending withdrawal of AES member states from ECOWAS by the end of January 2025 was not explicitly discussed, Ghana's gesture may be seen as a step forward, easing tensions and promoting dialogue between the AES and ECOWAS. And just before the break, let's take you to Nigeria. Peter Obi, former presidential candidate of the Labour Party, has called on President Bola Tinubu to demonstrate leadership by tackling the high cost of living and the adverse effect on Nigeria's economy. Obi's comments came in a press conference Thursday morning while he addressed the nation. WADS Usman Umar in Abuja reports.
In an address, the former presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, stressed that President Tinubu must lead from the front, beginning with a reduction in the cost of governance. The former Anambra State governor argued that this step is crucial to curbing Nigeria's rising public debt, which he said has ballooned under the current administration. He also emphasized that borrowings should be tied to projects that bring tangible development rather than being used for consumption. Peter Obi expressed concern over the state of the country's public infrastructure, pointing out that government officials often mismanage public funds through frequent foreign trips. He proposed that President Tinubu should travel by road occasionally to experience firsthand the poor condition of the nation's highways. He also condemned the ongoing poverty crisis in Nigeria, pointing to the stampedes for palliatives as a sign of the dire situation. He criticized the new minimum wage, which he argued has not done enough to alleviate hunger and suffering.
Newly approved minimum wage of 70,000 cannot afford a bag of rice or even half a bag of beans. As a result, many Nigerians go to bed hungry. While significant number now rely on palliatives and charitable support, tragically, this has recently led to several avoidable deaths.
Security was another key issue Peter Obi addressed, calling the current situation of banditry, terrorism and kidnapping unfortunate, and emphasized the needless loss of lives across the country. Finally, Obi called for a thorough review of the proposed tax reforms, stressing that taxation should be based on the country's productivity. He argued that a nation with widespread poverty should prioritize development before imposing heavy taxes on its citizens.
WADR's Abuja correspondent Usman Omar with that report. You are listening to Newslink here on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM, Dakar, Senegal, and online on wadr.org. Here's a reminder of our top stories. Senegal enters the global gas market with the trans-territorial project. Mali's Auditor General releases report implicating former Prime Minister Choguel Maïga in allegations of financial mismanagement. Côte d'Ivoire gears up for October presidential election amid calls for reforms and inclusivity. And Nigeria's opposition leader Peter Obi calls on President Tinubu to carry out leadership reforms and address the cost of governance, security, and poverty. Still ahead in the news, we have the guest interview and sports news. Please stay with us.
Fresh and breaking news all the time. Hear it first as the news breaks, only on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
Many thanks for staying with us. Liberian President Joseph Boakai welcomed 2025 with a strong message of unity, reconciliation, and youth empowerment during a spirited New Year Peace tournament held in Bomi County. Organized by the JMB Foundation, the event celebrated Liberia's journey toward peace and development while highlighting the transformative potential of education and collaboration. From Monrovia, Grace Joshua reports.
President Joseph Boakai graced the CHD West Sport pitch in Tottenburg, Bomi County for the New Year Peace Tournament organized by the JMB Foundation. The tournament marked the beginning of 2025 with a resigning call for reconciliation, development, and the empowerment of Liberia's youth. Addressing a jubilant crowd of residents, athletes, and local leaders, President Boakai, the chief patron of sports in Liberia, emphasized the critical role of unity in driving progress. He urged the people of Bomi County and Liberian in general to put aside their differences and work together for the greater good of the country. He emphasized that unity is essential for Liberian progress and expressed confidence that through collective effort, citizens can build a stronger and more prosperous nation. The Liberian leader also underscored the transformative power of education, particularly for the youth. He encouraged young people to prioritize their studies, equipping themselves with the tools needed to contribute meaningfully to their communities and the nation at large. The New Year Peace Tournament served as a unifying force for residents of Bomi County, providing not only entertainment but also an opportunity to reflect on the importance of collective action in nation building. For West Africa Democracy Radio, I'm Grace Joshua in Monrovia.
Politics,
Analysis on major news,
social matters, and all. This is a guest
In our guest interview segment, we go back to Ghana, where President Akufo-Addo delivered his last State of the Nation address in line with Article 67 of the 1992 Constitution. The address, among other things, covered issues of the economy, security, and social infrastructure, among others. Ahead of the address, we engaged a political analyst, Dr. Asa Asante, and he has been sharing his expectations with us.
To start with, I must say that State of a Nation address in Ghana is, a requirement by law. That is Article 67 of the 1992 Constitution of Ghana. Makes it mandatory for the president to give a State of Nation address beginning every session of Parliament and then before the dissolution of Parliament. And that next week Parliament will be dissolved and a new Parliament will be born. So by the dictates of the Constitution, the President has no choice than to deliver his last State of Nation address. Incidentally, it's going to be the last one because our Constitution does not permit the President to have more than 2 terms in office. And the last election, the results, the verdict is out there, which you know already, that the President Party lost overwhelmingly, and then so they couldn't maintain power. But that aside, I expect that the address will touch on the economy, the social areas, and then the financial state of the country. It is critical that these areas are highlighted because they are the movers and shakers of the Ghanaian society, for which reason government spend a lot of resources there to make sure that they build the frontiers of these areas and make it more important. We also expect the president to touch on the social issues that confront the society and how they've been able to navigate their way through that, those areas. And of course, we want to know the financial situation of the country.
The current administration always pats their back that they are putting in place measures to recover the Ghanaian economy back to pre-COVID era. And of course, recent indicators in terms of GDP growth pointing to some significant growth. Should the president be concerned about the realities of the ordinary Ghanaian at this time while exiting power, or the president should excite himself with the records of statistics which seems to be differing from the realities of the ordinary Ghanaian?
Governance, you proceed in governance with the truth, and the truth should lead you at all times. It doesn't matter how terrible a situation may be or be confronting the society. The people put you there to represent their interests, hopes, and aspirations. So if there are factors that militate against any of these things I've mentioned, it is important for you, the duty bearer, to point it out so that going forward, the society which vested you with the power will be able to find solution to that. So on that score, I don't expect the president to deviate from this and give us something that is not in line with what exists on the ground.
Dr. Asa Asante is a Ghanaian political scientist. Up next is Sports News with Sankule Janko.
Hello out there, a warm welcome and thank you for joining us. 2025 is shaping up to be a significant year for Senegal's national football team, with pivotal matches on the horizon. In March, the Teranga Lions will face Sudan and Togo in critical encounters, followed by clashes against the DR Congo and Mauritania, all part of the 2026 World Cup qualifiers according to soccer. Adding to this, Senegal will compete in the Africa Cup of Nations AFCON Morocco 2025, entering as one of the tournament favorites. To meet these challenges, the Senegalese Football Federation is taking proactive steps to strengthen the squad, focusing on recruiting dual national players. Among the potential players is Eli Kamara, a 21-year-old right back excelling at Standard League. Would Yusuf Sabali's retirement leaving a void at right back? Camara's dynamic performances could offer a solution to Senegal's defensive concerns. The Football Federation has reportedly contacted his representatives, hoping to secure his commitment to the national team, according to Soccer. This effort follows successful pursuits of goalkeeper Yovan Juve and Malik Chow, who are set to join the team in March. Elsewhere, former Nigeria international Peter Neketen has cautioned the Nigeria Football Federation (NFF) against appointing a foreign coach to lead the Super Eagles in the upcoming World Cup qualifiers set to resume in March, according to Brila. Neketen believes that introducing a foreign coach at this critical juncture could be detrimental given Nigeria's current standing in the qualifiers. In an interview with Brila.net, Neketen emphasized the importance of continuity. He noted that the players have already established a working relationship with the current coaching staff. He urged that bringing in a foreign coach unfamiliar with African football could require additional time for adoption, time that he claimed Nigeria cannot afford. And that's it for sports. It's back to you.
Sports news is brought to you by Sankule Janko. And with that, we've come to the end of this edition of Newslink here on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for listening, and many thanks to Mustafa Sek and Umu Danyogo for the technical assistance. Do interact with us via social media platforms, X, Instagram at WADR News, on Facebook, WADR English Service, and stream live on WADR.org. Do join Mustafa Jakiti at the top of the hour of 1 p.m. for the second edition of our comprehensive news packet in French and Foshevo. I'm Abdullahi Hassan. Good afternoon.
And many thanks to you for listening to Newslink via Hot 104.3 FM, Newmi FM 94.0,
Hilltop Radio 104.7 FM,
and Veritas Radio 102.9 in Banjul, the Gambia. We also appreciate